Today on Locked On Rockies, there's been a lot of frustration and a lot of disappointment for the Colorado Rockies. But one of the biggest disappointments and one of the biggest bummers of the season, the performance of Germán Márquez.
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast for today, the 30th day of April in the year 2025. I'm your host of the Locked On Rockies podcast, Paul Holden, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. And if your team is the Colorado Rockies, guess what? You're in the right spot, because that's what we do around here each and every day, free and streaming on your favorite streaming services and on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, where you can be part of the show. You can fire off your Rockies hot takes. You can let me know what's on your mind when it comes to the Colorado Rockies. And the best way to do so is firing off those comments in the Locked On Rockies YouTube comment section, which a lot of you have been, folks. It is abundantly clear that Rockies fans are upset, have a lot on their mind, and want to let me know what's going on. So continue to let me know what's on your mind. We're going to read some comments. We won't have time for everything here throughout the show, but if you want to be part of it, keep firing off your Rockies hot takes as the Rockies continue to look for any sort of an answer, any sort of a solution, losing to the Braves last night 8-2. And, it shows, even though if you're a Braves fan and you sit there and you say, well, the start of the season hasn't gone well, they're starting to build back. Notice how a good team like Atlanta has been able to take their sluggish start and have been able to start building it up. I believe I was seeing something. I think this is a few series wins in a row now for that team. Look at that example. I mean, obviously the Rockies are now an extreme outlier when it comes to losing, but a lot of other teams in baseball don't go on 8-game, 9-game, 7-game losing streaks, but the Colorado Rockies do. And I'm gonna be totally real with you here. With the game yesterday, the game was on mute on the second screen after about the fourth inning. I just didn't really have a ton of interest in locking in and focusing in when I can watch one of the best playoff basketball series of the season. And I know this is a Rockies podcast. You're supposed to be watching everything. I did watch, but like, I'm pretty sure I'm like a lot of you. A lot more interesting things to do with my life and my time there. But I want to talk about one of my biggest disappointments for the season, the record aside, and it's been the performance of Germán Márquez. We're going to talk about that and more coming up on today's episode. Before we do, this episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. So I'm going to read here from Renee Descartes' piece on Purple Row. Braves 8, Rockies 2, pursuing history and not the good kind, which has been our theme so far this week as the Rockies continue to make and find the worst types of history here. And let's see, just wanted to read about Germán here real quick. The Rockies' all-time strikeout leader was unable to fool Atlanta tonight and finished his evening striking out only one batter. Pitched 5 1/3, giving up 11 hits for 7 runs, all earned in 1 walk. As of the game's conclusion, Marquez has a 9.82 ERA. Too many pitches in the middle of the plate, Black commented after the game. He just couldn't consistently get to the edges when he needed to. He did see Marquez's delivery as improving since his last outing. He just didn't make a lot of good pitches. It's worth noting that this is only the 11th game Marquez has pitched in since 2023, given the challenges he has faced returning from Tommy John surgery. However, at this point, it's worth asking how much he has left in the tank. This is easily one of my biggest disappointments of the year, without a doubt. I thought the return of Germán Márquez was going to be something that the Rockies were going to be able to use to shore up their starting rotation. Coming into the season, I said, hey, this is a team that's coming in with their healthiest starting rotation in a while, with the exception of Austin Gomber. They're getting their guys in. They're getting the right guys in here. They're getting the guys that are going to help make this team be successful, keep them in ball games, keep them in situations in which they are going to be able to be factors, to be impacts, to help this team in an area that it's often struggled with. I mean, we've turned to Germán and Senza and Freeland in the past to help get this team to the playoffs. And it just has been highlighted by mostly underperformances. Like I said, I still firmly believe that while Kyle Freeland is not, the best pitcher in the world, he kind of gets more unlucky than others. But then when you look here at Germán, it's just everything you're worried about is kind of on full display. At minimum here, he has allowed at least, I think, with the exception of his first start of the season, Germán Márquez has allowed at least 5 earned runs in his starts. He's allowed at least 5 hits in every start that he has appeared in, and he has a handful of walks. Luckily, in 3 out of his 5 starts, he's only walked 1 batter, but he does have the outlier of 6 walks in that first start, 3 walks in the start before Atlanta against Kansas City. So a couple of issues where, again, as we heard Bud Black talk about in that quote there, the location seems to be a problem for Germán. Not so much where it's walking, but it's in spots where they're going to get hit. 11 hits in the game allowed last night, 8 hits allowed in the start before that as well. Has not gone any further than 5 1/3. That was his longest appearance was last night's game there as well. This stinks. The Rockies, plain and simply, needed their guy here, and for Germán to be the one that comes out and is allowing this amount of damage throughout his starts when he was supposed to be a guy that we were hoping that we could count on, is really disappointing, especially as you scroll down and you look and you just see the drop off since the injury and how much of a struggle it has been. There needs to be we need to allow more time. There needs to be more to see what happens throughout the season to see what exactly, how it all shakes out for Germán. Maybe it's, just a real tough stretch, but he's on pace for his worst season ever. And he's already had the most starts that he's had, in a couple of seasons, like we said beforehand. It does, mixed with Germán's, kind of history of starting slow. Just watching him, it doesn't seem like it's the same Germán Márquez as we've come to know. And it just goes to show you how intense and how extreme that recovery is and how serious that injury was when you're going into a situation. I mean, we're talking about Germán Márquez is -1 WAR right now on the season in his 6 starts. I thought it was 5 starts. 1, 2. Why does it say? I got last 5 games here, and I got 6 starts for him. So maybe I'm missing something here on Baseball Reference. But regardless, even with how early it is, this hole that Germán's got to dig himself out of is pretty massive. In 2022, the last time he had it pitched a lot, he had a 1.4 WAR, 2.4 WAR before that. I mean, he had 3.5 WAR in 17, 4.2 in 18. Germán's career from 17 to 22, though, that 5-year stretch was all impactful, positive baseball. Issues there certainly in some areas with some of the stats, certainly, but we were getting 180 innings from Germán Márquez before he got hurt. Are we going to see even close to that? Can we count on that? It's his ERA right now is at 9.82 overall. I mean, over 25 innings pitched, his whip is at 2.065, only 15 strikeouts on the year as well, 0-5. Another situation here where we're looking at how will the Rockies help Germán? How can the Rockies help him adjust? How can the Rockies help him get back in order? And I don't know. Again, this is another situation where you have to sit and throw your hands up and say, okay, this a change needs to be made. An adjustment needs to be made. Use your resources. Do something different. Find a different approach. We're supposed to have a pitching-focused manager. We have a manager in charge that has had success with Germán Márquez before. I mean, the only thing that, as crazy as it is to say, is there is more time. And hopefully, like Germán and others, will be looking at, hey, the first month of the season sucked big time. It didn't get much worse than that. But hey, it's June, and look, Germán's cut the ERA in half. He's picked up a couple wins. He's picked up a couple more strikeouts. That's a good sign. But at this rate, and at this, with the expiring contract and everything like that, you have to imagine that this performance, this start to the season, could be setting the stage for what other choice you have other than to move on, and who can fill the void of production that Germán has had in the past, mixed with, can we even get close to seeing some of that production again, some of that elite dominance that we've seen from Germán Marquez? I don't know. There's it doesn't look like the same Germán. And it sucks. I'm not gonna lie. He was one of my most anticipated Rockies this year. At the top, easily in the top 5 Rockies I wanted to watch this year. And for him to be someone that has had such great success was so impactful for the Rockies in the past. For it to fizzle out like this is just a heartbreaker. For a guy that's been so successful with the Colorado Rockies, most strikeouts in franchise history, a top of the leaderboards in other categories as well, at least up there with some guys. His performance has been easily one of the most difficult things of the season. Easily one of the most difficult things to watch, which really stinks. Hopefully things turn around and he can start bailing himself out, because it'll be an interesting crossroads that Germán Márquez can face, or will face, I should say, at the end of this season if this continues here. All right. I'm just going to hit you with some more stats and some more history the Rockies have made. I think to highlight exactly where the Rockies are at, I just need to keep reading these examples. There's no analysis outside of just how poorly the Rockies have been playing and how many bad examples of history that they're making. We're going to talk about that and dive into more on the way next on today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Before we do that, though, got to tell you about the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. When you use Monarch, you're going to realize just how much you're spending on food delivery, streaming services, and more. You can budget smarter and save. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. And you can do it with your partner as well, because it is managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB. That's code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off. Yes, 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. Locked On Rockies podcast back with you here for segment number 2 of today's episode of Locked On Rockies. As the team continues to look for answers and search for anything, we got some tweets and stats that I have been retweeting here that I'm going to get to in just a moment. But thanking you again for making us your first listen of the day. For your second listen of the day, go check out our pal Sully on Locked On MLB. Guess what? We will be doing a crossover with Locked On MLB tomorrow. It's a little bit more bigger picture, zoomed out type of stuff. So we're kind of talking about, how did the Rockies get here? How does it look in the NL West? So that'll be hitting your feeds tomorrow. So just a heads up, there won't be as much immediate Braves series finale recap in tomorrow's episode. But let's be real, are we really even going to have much to talk about when the Rockies eventually lose and continue to establish themselves as having the worst start and on pace to be the worst team in baseball history? Okay, so I just want to, not to just keep the Debbie Downer energy going here, but I'm just hitting you with stats and things that people have brought up, and I want to bring up a couple of fun things from people here about the Rockies here and where they have been at. So I'm going to read a bunch of retweets. I'm going to read some other stuff as well here. Let's see. Okay, scrolling. Okay. From Jake Shapiro here from Denver Sports. Colorado has the toughest schedule remaining here. The strength of schedule for the Rockies, and this was before the game yesterday, but the strength of the schedule for the Rockies has currently the schedule has an over 500 winning strength of schedule when it comes to like winning percentage and stuff. Highest at 536. Still with plenty of series against good opponents here. That's the most by about 18 points they're about 18 points higher than the team behind them. Noah Sprick says, with tonight's loss, the Colorado Rockies have lost 16 of 17 games for the first time in franchise history. They are 4-25. The team is already a quarter of the way to a 100-loss season already here. And let's see here. We're also going to go with Patrick Lyons. There have been 7 losing streaks of 6 or more games so far this season. Colorado owns 3 of those streaks. Only 3 8-game losing streaks in all of MLB in 2025. Rockies own 2 of those. Here's Cespedes Family Barbecue. Worst team-wide contact rate, wild card era 2020 season excluded. 2025 Rockies, 68.8%. 2024 Rockies, 70.2%. 2023 Angels, 70.7%. 2023 Rockies, 70.9%. And let's head on over here to Trent Finnegan writing, it's been a long time since the Rockies won back-to-back games. So this is on Denver Sports 104.3, the fan here. Let's read. A stat that is more impressive for the Rockies is that the club hasn't won back-to-back games since September 17th, 2024, when they strung together 2 straight victories over the Arizona Diamondbacks. Since that day, the club has won just 6 games, none of which came in consecutive fashion. What was going on in the world of Denver sports the last time the Rockies had a win streak going? The Denver Broncos were 0-2 after uninspiring losses to the Seattle Seahawks and the Pittsburgh Steelers to kick off the Bo Nix era. For the Denver Nuggets, their new City Edition jerseys for the 2024-2025 season had just leaked as they were gearing up for their final season with Michael Malone as the head coach of the team ahead of their trip to Abu Dhabi for a preseason series against the Boston Celtics. The Avalanche were still wondering what the status of Valeri Nichushkin was for the 2024-2025 season would be after he was suspended for 6 months in the 2024 playoffs, and Mikko Rantanen had recently made a statement that he didn't want to leave the team. In the college football world, Travis Hunter's name wasn't being mentioned in Heisman Trophy talks as the Buffaloes were sitting at 2-1 record after a big victory in the Rocky Mountain Showdown. The bottom line, it's been a long time since the Rockies have been able to put together a winning streak. While the club recently fired its hitting coach in an attempt to spark some change, much more movement up high will be needed if the franchise ever wants to return to where it was as it was in 2007. So there you go. And I'm not done. I'm not done. We jump over to Purple Row here right now. We go back to Renee Deckhart writing the recap from yesterday's game here. The Rockies' bad luck and defensive errors persisted due to a miscommunication in the 5th inning. Jordan Beck and Bretton Doyle barely avoided a collision that could have resulted in injuries. In addition, Mickey Moniak and Alan Trejo racked up errors. Overall, the Rockies have 25 errors, the most in MLB. Ryan McMahon did have a nice, good play there yesterday as well. And then I want to go up here. Bretton Doyle was 0 for 4 with 2 Ks last night. Ryan McMahon, who's now 0 for 31, was 0 for 4 as well. As a team, they finished with 2 runs on 6 hits, 1 walk, and 7 Ks. Guys are frustrated for sure, manager Bud Black says. We're just not getting the results overall from all 26 guys. I mean, again, and that's not to add on to the fact that the Rockies are on pace for 22 wins here. Here we go. Let's more from Renee here. The Rockies extended their losing streak to 8 games, their second 8-game losing streak of the season. They have lost 16 of their last 17 games, the worst 17-game stretch in franchise history. In addition, the Rockies dropped to 4-25 to start the season, matching the 1988 Orioles 4-25 and the 2003 Tigers for the worst 29-game start in the modern era since 1901. They did not win a series during the month of April and have yet to rack up consecutive wins. What I can dive in there and it doesn't matter. Let's go. Let's start with the Cespedes family barbecue. Wow, the bad trends continue. That's almost as if when you double down, triple down, and continue to say, "Oh, nope, we're going to break through. We're going to keep doing this approach, this philosophy. We're going to triple down on this." And you only see the trends go downwards. It's almost like you should have made a change before that. It's almost like you needed to make adjustments. It's almost like you needed to do more analysis and break down more and actually look at the concerning trends and the problems that your team has been facing now for multiple seasons in a row. You can keep rattling off this. The Rockies can continue to go down to be the worst team in history, but the question still will remain is when is it enough to make this team look in the mirror? Do we honestly truly believe that if the Rockies continue to have examples of the defense that's supposed to be great falling on its face, the pitchers that the Rockies have signed to long-term contracts and believe that they were part of the big picture in the future of this team haven't worked out? This is a team that if you aren't completely reevaluating every last part of it, then we will continue to be the laughing stock of baseball and we will continue to not see improvement. This team needs to show that it can break these stretches. It's not that it's just historically bad this year mixed with an underperformance of players there. This team has shown that they're not preparing these guys correctly. Their approach off the field isn't working. These players aren't going up to the dish prepared and ready to take on at bats. This team is underprepared in addition to under-talented compared to the rest of the league. It is so much deeper, and all of these problems are just on such full display, showing that the Rockies' issues are so deep, are so foundational, are so connected to the foundation and the core of this team that until a massive shakeup happens, and I don't know what other evidence that the Rockies need, that they need to desperately change something and do something differently than what they're doing, then this season continues to go. It has never been more embarrassing to be a Rockies fan than right now. Plain and simple. It has never been this bad. Back-to-back 100-loss seasons, and you follow it up with not only the worst month in franchise history, but one of the worst months in baseball history. If the Rockies lose tonight, they will have the worst start in baseball history. Just about. I mean, they're tied right now. They're right there with these other guys. The worst 29-game start in the modern era since 1901. That's 124 years. It's plain and simple, folks. The players are underperforming. The organization is underdeveloping, and there are no answers right now. There are no answers other than to go through it. But it's going to take so much, and the Rockies require so much change. But I still don't think that this season is enough to make this organization look in the mirror and really reflect on what it needs to do and what it should do for the future of its franchise. All right, let's see what you folks have to say. Let's get to the Locked On Rockies YouTube comment section. That's coming up next on today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Before we do that, though, got to tell you about the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes Wonderful Pistachios. If you're looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious, crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving is 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. You don't need the chips. You don't need the pretzels. Get something with those protein-packed snacks like Wonderful Pistachios. You know you want to get that protein. Protein's so important as you're bulking up, right? And if you don't want to make a mess, they got the no-shells variety that are perfect for a grab-and-go snack or avoiding that mess at your desk. They got a complete protein providing all 9 essential amino acids, and they got, one of the best parts, right? That feeling, cracking open those shells and enjoying a nice tasty treat. Get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. That's Wonderful Pistachios. You can learn more and see all the flavors for yourself at wonderfulpistachios.com. That's wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. This is the Locked On Rockies podcast for free and streaming on your favorite streaming services, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. thanking you for making us your first listen of the day. Lots of comments here on the Locked On Rockies YouTube comments here. Let's see here. Marco says, Rockies are so bad they were in the A block on PTI. Woof. Usually you'd sit there and be like, yeah, A block of PTI. But nope, not when you are, as J-Rod points out, when you make an episode of PTI for the wrong reasons. Wow, that's bad. Two people pointing out how are watching PTI. We're like, look at that. We were like looking for the Rockies to get more coverage, right? And here they are being on a national TV show as an embarrassment. Marco adds this. Ownership doesn't hold the GM and the rest of the front office accountable. Therefore, the coach isn't held accountable, and the coach doesn't hold the players accountable. Desperate times call for desperate measures, and that doesn't mean more of the same decisions. Positive signs, not the strikeouts, gave us a hope in spring training, and it's the hope that kills us. Hey, at least on the bright side, there have been some players that have stepped up there. Jake Bird, for an example. There was another pitcher yesterday who's had a pretty good start as well. The bullpen has actually been decent from some. It's just been when the Rockies are already down 2 and the offense doesn't do anything, then, well, it's over. It doesn't matter what the bullpen does. It doesn't matter where the bullpen is at there. But something that maybe as we finish the week here, maybe we should hype up a little bit more, because there have been some solid performances out of the pen here. Let's see here. There's a lot to say. There's a lot of people. Jack says it's embarrassing that we can count our wins on one hand at the end of April. I agree. Joe says sell the team. Rockies ownership is pathetic. Whoa. Yeah, I mean, it's a tough one. It's just going to be. I really just don't see as much as we want there to be change. Again, it's just that tough question of, will there actually be change? Here's what. Let's see. What do we got here? Jason. Here's what Jason says. I've been a lifelong Rockies fan since their inaugural 1993 season, sitting at the old Mile High Stadium for their first few seasons, and was a longtime season ticket holder through all the ups and downs at Coors. I've continued to support my team from a distance. I've lived in Florida for almost a decade now, and it has been incredibly embarrassing being a fan. I'm sick and tired of listening to and hearing local podcasts and radio personalities for the Marlins and Rays saying, at least we aren't the Rockies. I'm truly pissed as a fan, and it's time for something to change. Unfortunately, the team won't be sold anytime soon, so I guess the only thing I have to look forward to is seeing what kind of young talent we can acquire before the trade deadline. Either way, this is the most disappointing sports season I've ever witnessed as a lifelong Denver sports fan. That is all. When the Marlins are laughing at you, when the Marlins are a team that has shown that they can do more, and when the Rays are looking at you and saying, why aren't you creative? It definitely highlights and emphasizes the problem there. I feel you, Jason, here. Useless Trucker says, maybe they should make another Major League movie, but this time about the Rockies. It worked for Cleveland. Oh, man, I like that one a lot. I like that one. That's a good one. Let's see. We got Raul saying, marbles. This team has no marbles. There might be an argument for some of that there as well. Let's see here. What else do we got? Dino says, I don't live in Denver anymore. Is there anything I can support to raise awareness of our ownership's inability to build a winner? When he cried about his salary cap this offseason and the next sentence admitted we would likely be trying to reach the floor of a salary cap, I almost cried tears of pain. The man isn't interested in winning. Please release us. Walmart, like Denver teams, and they have their own winners and can pay good baseball people. If I was still in Denver, I'd be on Blake with the poster and well-made presentation for people to let them know we need to sell as they enjoy their evening in beautiful Coors Field. I would like to hand out paper bags too. Encourage sell the team chance. I'm just so tired of being the worst franchise in baseball. I think a lot of people are frustrated and tired and struggling with it. But here's the deal. At the end of the day, as many people have said, and at this, you don't owe the team anything. You don't owe the team your time. You don't owe the team any of your money. And again, I am a person that believes in going to Coors Field and attending games as you like and being a baseball fan, because there's a lot of factors that go into that. But remember, there is not, as much as I say that it's okay to go to games and keep doing what you do as Rockies fan, there is nothing wrong with you sunsetting or putting your Rockies fandom on the shelf. This team isn't doing enough to take care of you, the fan. This team isn't doing enough to make it interesting to be a fan. This team isn't doing enough to keep you interested. So in a world where we have two great teams in the playoffs playing phenomenal playoff series, let's go Avs. We need the Avs to go on the back burner here. Why should you care? Why should you care about the Rockies when the Broncos are coming up for one of their most exciting seasons in a while? Why should you care when there's other things to do in Denver all the time? Go enjoy the mountains. Go enjoy another night on the town in Denver. Go do a million other things. Because there should be a point where this team has to prove it to you, the fan, that it's worth it to spend your time and money on this team. So be frustrated. Keep letting me know what's on your mind. Keep using your voice as a Rockies fan. I don't know what it's going to do in the big picture of things because we know the organization doesn't do a lot of listening to people outside of it. But we'll see what happens. And like I said, keep supporting if you want to support. But if this is the final straw, or if yesterday's game or the next game's the final straw, and you say enough of this, it's not worth my time, I don't blame you one bit. That's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Thank you so much for making us your first listen of the day. We're free and streaming on your favorite streaming services. For your second listen of the day, go check out Locked On MLB. Our guy Sully's got you covered there. We'll be chatting with Sully tomorrow on the show. Like I said, bigger picture, kind of zooming things out a little bit. So just a little note on that episode. And folks, if you need more Colorado sports coverage, Locked On Avalanche, Broncos, Nuggets, Buffs, all available for you on your favorite streaming services and on YouTube. Until next time, this is Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Rockies podcast.